Are you always so busy going through the motions, checking the box, and being responsible? Do you feel like you have more to offer the world but just can't seem to get moving? As men, it's in our nature to build things, fix things, and of course to provide. What often gets lost in this is the act of intentional living. For too long, I've lived from checklist to checklist. I felt like I was wasting the gifts God had given me. Friends, I'm putting this behind me and moving forward. This podcast is dedicated to living intentionally, making forward progress, and living out God's purpose for us. Friends, I'm glad you're here. This is episode number 26. Mine is bigger than yours. The journey of authentic masculinity. Before I get into this week's main content, I just want to talk to you a little bit about some small changes I want to make in the podcast here, and I hope you're on board with this. I hope you're cool with this. What I really want to do is I want to make this really content rich. That's really important. I wrote an article recently about being distracted by all these bells and whistles and shiny objects out there, and this is something I fall prey to all the time. Setting up for video, which this is being put on video, so there will be a video link. I'll put a link in the show notes to this if you want to follow along, if you want to watch. Maybe it's exciting, maybe it's not exciting. I think it's pretty exciting, but I took like 2 weeks trying to figure out how to do this. And I feel maybe kind of like I let the audience down because I wasn't putting any content out there. So really what's important to me is putting out content. So the first thing I want to say is I'm really working on getting great guests, and I've had some great guests, and I want to get some more great guests to have a lot of interview shows that are really pertinent to men's issues and really the purpose of what we're trying to do here with this podcast. And to be more concise and to be more, as I say, content rich, but concise, to be really focused on these the men's issues, men's ministry, and our relationship with Jesus and our purpose in life. And so that's something I'm going to really be working on here. And also, as you may have already seen a little bit here, I'm going to let Jesus kind of run the ship a little bit here. I know some of you may think I sound crazy, but I've been praying a lot about this. Like, Jesus, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do here? Guide me through this. Friends, I don't know ultimately what this is all about. I'm not here to make money. I'm not even here to get millions of downloads, even though maybe I have had some. I don't know. It's a top secret. My Google Analytics. Trust me, I have not had millions of downloads. But the whole point here is there's a purpose to this, and this is to help. Even if it's one person, if it's just one person, to help find their way, to find their purpose, and to find Jesus, and to figure out a way to live the life that Jesus wants them to. So those are the two things there that I just kind of wanted to share with you. As I said, I said here, hey, I'm going to try to be more concise and be more to the point, and then I ramble on. But that's just kind of who I am, and maybe I'll get better, maybe I won't. But I hope you like it. Before we get into this week's main content, I just want to kind of step back a little bit and share with you a book recommendation. Now, I had a chance to interview the author of this book, and I believe that will be episode 27, maybe 28, just depending on when I get it edited and I get his okay to go to air with it. So his name is David Dusek. He wrote a book called Rough Cut Men. Now, this book really struck. This book was one of the inspirations for this episode. In an article I wrote that this ultimately is the inspiration for this episode. He wrote a book called Rough Cut Men. Now you can find him at roughcutmen.org. He does a lot of men's ministry talks, and his book, this Rough Cut Men, takes movie clips and puts them in context of a lot of things going on that I really related to. And a couple of the things, and then I want you to listen to my podcast that's going to be up here in the next few weeks, and I want you to buy his book, and I want you to read it. Things he talks about are the needs us men. We're fighting a battle out there. The life is a battle. It's a battle of good and evil. I'm going to talk more about that here real soon here, but we need a wingman. We need someone, and we need people and someone to help us through this, to help us fight these battles. We need someone to be accountable to. We need to hold us accountable, an accountability partner. And again, we need to know that we're not going to go into battle alone. And he talks about a ton of other great stuff. And it's not just, hey, here's a movie and let's see if we can find a way to stretch it to make it cool, to have a cool guys movie. Man, guys, this is real. This is good stuff. So take a look at his book. It was a quick read. And then, something I want to share. My voice may be a little hoarse right now. I smoked a cigar earlier, and it was a heck of a cigar. It was one of those big long cigars, and it just kind of kicked my butt here. But I wanted to share with you a cigar I smoked the other day that was really good. It's called an Isla del Sol. I think I may be pronouncing that wrong. I don't know. ISLADELSOL. It's sort of a sweet coffee type flavor, easy smoking cigar. And friends, if I'm going to start talking more about cigar, I'm going to learn a little bit more of the lingo. But I wanted to share that with you. I don't know what size and this and that. It's like a decent size. I don't know. And then one quick thing, if I could ask you to give me a rating, an iTunes rating for the podcast, it really helps to get this out there. I think if you agree, if you like what I'm saying, if you like where we're going with this, you want other people to find it. I'm not a master of SEO, which is search engine optimization. I need your help out there to get other people to find this podcast. And again, a big way is just putting a rating. Give it a 5-star rating, and I'll love you forever. And I'll mention you on the podcast. So if you need a shout out, if you want me to give you a shout out, I'd be more than happy to do that. You don't have to give me a 5-star rating, honestly. Just give me any rating other than Rocco, I hate you, and shut down the podcast, and I will share it with you, or I will share it with the audience on an upcoming episode. Cool? So this week's main content. Mine is bigger than yours. The journey of authentic masculinity. Now this is inspired by an article I wrote on that actually just came out, I guess it was just the other day. So it depends when you listen to this, but September 26, 2015. You can find this on my website at roccodeleo.com/publications, and you'll see everything I've ever done. This one is called Man's Dilemma. How do I know if I measure up? Now, the inspiration for this, as I said, was a couple things for this article. A couple things. One was a video on David Dussek's website, roughcutmen.org. He was on this video. He was talking about where are all the men. He's kind of going around town, going to the mall and seeing things, and it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of men out there. Like, where are these guys? The other inspiration, I've talked a lot before. I'm going to adjust my chair here. There we go. I'm going to do this in one take, by the way. I have to. I'm doing the simulcast on video, and it's just too hard to I usually don't do this in one take. So you may hear me cough, and you may hear my chair, which the hydraulics are dying on it. You may hear me readjusting it. So the book, the other inspiration for this, one of my favorite authors is John Eldredge. Wild at Heart is the book. I referenced that in the article. So these two things really address. First thing, David Dussek addresses the men at home on the couch. Where are all the guys? And I've been that guy on the couch. And guys, sometimes I'm still that guy on the couch. I just don't want to fight the battle, just to be out there. Sometimes it's easier just to sit on the couch and watch the game. But there's a battle to be fought. We need to be out there. And then really this journey, this masculine journey, the bulk of the inspiration came from Wild at Heart. And I'm going to get into the meat of this discussion here in just a minute. But the first things first is, why do we need our men to step up? I know I need to step up. I want to be there. I want to be there for my wife and my kids and my family. I want to be there for other men as well. Because as I said earlier, we're fighting a battle, and I don't want to fight it alone, and I don't want the other guys that are counting on me to be fighting it alone. We need men who knows. I'm going to re-say this here. We need men who know what it takes to be a man, and know they have what it takes. This is a big deal here, right? And when we have these men, when we have a society of guys who step up, we have a society of strong leaders, of strong fathers and husbands. And we have kids who grow up to be strong leaders and husbands, strong ethical businessmen, and followers of Jesus Christ. Without this, we're just going to fall apart. The family is going to fall apart. Divorce is going to continue to run rampant. I'm divorced. I know how painful this is, how horrible this is for on my ego, on what I went through and what my kids went through, and we're still recovering from this. So this is really important. So as I said, why are the men showing up for life? Where are the guys? Guys, I know there's a lot of guys showing up. I'm not saying that nobody's not showing up. There's a lot of guys showing up, and I'm very encouraged by what I see out there, but there could be more. There needs to be more. And the ones who are showing up for life are the ones who have passion, who have found their purpose, who are doing who have asked God, who go to God and ask God, what I've got these gifts, or I've got these passions, or I've got these desires to do whatever it is. I could tell you, I asked God, what do you want from me? What do you want me to do? And he puts me in front of this microphone, and he puts me in front of a Bible, and he's still working through me. I'm trying to figure all this out. It's kind of crazy sometimes. But the ones who are showing up, they're showing up because they have a purpose. And if you've ever read The Purpose-Driven Life, the first thing that Rick Warren says is it's not about you. It's about God. And he goes on further. It's about serving others and serving God through serving others. And when you start to discover this, and you know what, I can't talk about you. I can talk about me and my experience. I'm on fire, guys. I'm on fire because I feel like I have this purpose. And it's not just, okay, it's all about God, so everybody else, you guys don't matter. Nothing else matters. In fact, once I realized it's about God and it's not about me, all of a sudden, all these other things in my life seem to, they matter more, like my family and my kids, but they matter in a context of my purpose, my happiness, and in my value, my validation does not come from my kids or my wife. They come from Jesus. And I've shared my story before, and forgive me, I don't remember the exact links. I'll put links in the show notes for this, but I've shared my issues with codependency, and they go way back. And I'm going to get into this masculine journey thing here in just a minute. And I'll try to enlighten you a little bit on my experience and where I think some of this came from. But I could tell you this codependency I had came from really going to my wife and seeking this validation of this masculine validation. I say, hey, do I measure up? Am I a man? And I'm giving this power to my wife to say, hey, am I a man? Am I measuring up? This is what it means to be a man. And as John Eldredge says in his book Wild at Heart, he says going to a woman and seeking out validation of masculinity is like, I want to quote this right. I have it written down right here. What does he say? Oh, this doesn't make for good. I should, guys, I should know this. It's like going to. I want to say it's something like going to an oyster and getting an elephant or something. I totally bombed that. John Eldredge has a great punchline, and I'll do this. I'll put it in the show notes. Again, I should have known this, but I should have been prepared for this, but I'm winging this, and I'm doing this in one take. But the point is, women do not have masculinity to give. They don't. So when you go to a woman and say, do I measure up? Am I a man? The woman is like, well, you're my husband or whatever. She doesn't have it to give. What she does have to give is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's her femininity. And when she gives her femininity to a man who knows what to do with it, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we create life with that. We create a life and we create life with that. But when she gives it to a boy, or she gives it to a man who doesn't know what to do with it, it's a disaster. Because don't know what to do with it. What do I do? What is this? I come to you and I want you to tell me I'm a man. I want you to give me my masculinity. And she's given me her femininity. And what the heck? What do I do with this? So friends, it's really important. I'm going to get into this here in just a minute here. But that's sort of the point. This is why this is important, guys. We need to be men, and we need to show up for the masculine journey. Again, I'm going to get into our role in this place first. And first and foremost is we have to find ourselves in a healthy place on the journey ourselves before we can play the next role, which again, I'm going to get into here in just a minute. So to recap this, the men who are showing up are men who have purpose. They've discovered their purpose. And I believe without any doubt that purpose initially, first and foremost, is glorifying Jesus. It's about serving others through Jesus, serving Jesus through others. And we know, let's see, what do I write? I write my notes. I can't read my own writing. We know that Jesus arms us with our purpose to get off the couch and participate. But we have to ask Jesus for that help. And the other thing that these guys that are showing up, they know which battles to pick, and they know which battles to fight. You can't fight them all, but they know which ones to fight. So I want to get into the content here. I'm going to take a drink of water here. I need a cough button and a drink of water button because that doesn't sound too great, but what the heck? If the content's good, right? So the premise of this article that I wrote is this idea that the masculine journey, and I'll sketch this out on a piece of paper or on my show notes so you could see it. So if you're more of a visual person, because this idea came to me. I was listening to Wild at Heart for the third time on audio, and I had to pull my car over because this vision, just this idea just came to me, and it was like, wow, it makes so much sense because I'm really trying to explain to myself my codependency. And I came up with this idea about a month ago or a month or two ago. And I could tell you, friends, that I feel very little codependency right now. I feel like I've pulled through it, and I know that it's going to be a continuing battle. But friends, I really feel like a lot has happened for me. So the good thing about that is I went on this bad journey that I'm going to explain to you here in a minute. And I feel like I found a way to bounce back. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that are in the same place. So let's get to it, right? So think of this piece of paper, or however you want to look at it, right? On the left side of it, everybody is born, right? And you have your childhood. In a healthy journey, a healthy masculine journey, which leads to this authentic masculinity, right? These guys that are showing up, and these guys that know they measure up and they know what it means to measure up. These guys, they're born and they're surrounded by other authentic men, other men who know they measure up, who some of them have found God, and I'm just, guys, of course there's guys who feel masculine and have authentic masculinity who maybe don't know God. That's not my path, but that may be your path. That may be someone else's path. But my path here is this healthy initiation. The healthy path involves an initiation. And I write in the article, and really, again, this comes from the book Wild at Heart. He talks about these a third world, or these older societies. And if you've ever seen like National Geographic or read about these older historical societies, I think you saw like Aboriginal type stuff or whatever, but all the men, these young men, had to go through initiation rites before they could mate, or before they could court their women, before they could be around the women, or whatever it would be. But there was always this initiation rite. Maybe it was killing a lion. And I point out that, and I do mention, just for all you animal lovers out there, that I do frown upon killing lions to be able to get boys to be able to date girls. So I'm not at all. Am I not condoning that we need to start killing lions? This is a bad thing, and I think that got some bad press. So I don't want any of that bad press. But I digress. The whole point here is there's this initiation. And these guys, these boys, they go into this and they're boys. And some of these are pretty brutal. Again, I don't want these brutal initiations. But what they do get out of this is they know they're a boy. And they know they go through this process that their uncles and their fathers and their grandfathers and their ancestors went through. And when they went through it, they can look back and say, I did this. I survived this. I've got these scars. But guess what? I'm a man now because all the other men that I know, these strong men that are leading us, they went through this too, and this is their first step their first step to masculinity and their first step to becoming a man. So that's the first thing, and this may be in our society. This may be just doing service project with other godly men in your family for boys, with their uncles or their dads or their grandpas. This may be the Cub Scouts. This may be fishing trips. It's not necessarily an overnight initiation. This is an initiation that takes time. In a healthy growth of a boy, they have this, and they have the healthy men around them. And then when they don't, there's trouble. And I'm going to get into that in just a minute here. So what we find in this is sort of the A route, right? The healthy route. At this point, the boys start to know, they have this self-discovery. They're validated starting to be validated by themselves because they know, hey, I've done this. I'm doing these things. This is the beginning of the beginning, but then they know there's other godly men around them. There's other men who have been through this, and they see these men marching to the right drum, the right beat, or whatever the saying is, but they're walking the walk, and they know they can go to these men, these older men, these men they look up to that are good men, and say, hey, I've got this problem, I've got this thought, I've got this concern, I've got this idea, and they could get feedback from these men, and they could continually do that. They can feel comfortable. They can feel welcome. They're part of the group, and that they grow up. And this leads them in to the right path. That at some point that they grow. They're 18, 19, 20, 22. They grow through this process, and some of them they fall and they come back, but they've been initiated. They know what it means to be a man. And guess what? Some of them still choose to not be men, but they still know what it means to be men. So if they could get through this is a big thing, is to have this initiation and to have these godly men around them to constantly be looking after them, to be a safety net or whatever it may be, to have the resources there. Now, I want to focus a little bit more on the other path, because I think a lot of us, and I've been through this, a lot of us find ourselves on a different path, whether it's because you had an absent father or absent father and mother, or an alcoholic father, or whatever it may have been. And I can share my experience here with you in just a couple of minutes of what really threw me off, because my dad was great. My mom and dad were great. They're still with us. They live 3 doors down from me. And if you're watching on video, they live that way. So everybody's got a little bit of a different story. So what happens here is you kind of go in a different direction. You miss the initiation. If you miss it, that the boy, they're born and they're growing up and they're 6, 7 years old, they don't have that initiation. They don't have that person they could count on. They don't just stay flatlined. They go in the wrong direction. They start seeking validation because that's just natural. If you don't have that validation, you don't have it, you're going to look for it somewhere. Now, my experience was I did have that validation. I had a lot of good, holy men around me, leading me, just the normal stuff. And it was camping, or it was Cub Scouts, it was Little League, it was all that stuff. But I had something happen to me as a young man, as a young boy, I should say, that completely nullified that and just messed up the entire trajectory, nullified all the other work that was done. And I was abused by somebody, and this person taught me, this was not a family member, this was a neighbor person, but this person taught me that I had no value, that I was seeking validation from this person. I was seeking validation from other people, and I was still really young. I didn't know how to judge who to really seek validation. This takes time, friends. But I was seeking validation from somebody, and the pain he caused me was so powerful and so impactful. It took 20 years for me to acknowledge how much it hurt. And then it took another 14 years for me to really address it at a deep spiritual level, to where I am now, to where I could go, oh, I get it. I get it. That guy had no say in who I am, had no say on my masculinity, and I'm rebuilding it. But here I am, and I feel great. But okay, so let's go back here. I know it's hard to go back because that's kind of a big bombshell here, but I want to go back to this here. So we find people who have experiences, traumatic experiences like me, or people who don't have fathers or whatever, seeking validation in all the wrong places, seeking validation from people who want to help but can't help. In that point, we see that's our wives, the women around us, or drugs, or whatever it may be. Some abuse that seeking of validation. Many of them, just as I said, so you have these guys are seeking validation from people around them. And again, some will abuse them like what happened to me, but some will they'll want to give it. They'll want to validate you, but they won't have it to give. Remember what I said about what John Eldridge had said about women don't have masculinity to give? Some people just don't have it to give. But they'll try. And that hurts as well. That's not their fault, but that's just how things work. And then we continue to seek it. We continue to seek it from somewhere. And I really, one of the issues I had for a long time was pornography. A lot of men reach out to pornography for validation. You go, you look at this, and it makes you feel like a man. You can pick and choose whatever you want to see. And of course, it's sort of a quick fix. But what it tells you, again, it's so crazy. What it tells you is you don't measure up. You can't measure, because you can never measure up to what pornography tells you a real man is. Because that's not real. That's not real life. It's fake. It's TV. It's like the women who try to look like the supermodels on the whatever the magazine covers. Those women aren't even those women. They're airbrushed, right? It's like it's a losing battle. And then the other area, the other one that's really painful, really hard, and really messes up a lot of marriage is seeking that from women. And I've kind of already discussed this. And please, friends, don't take this the wrong way. I am not 1 ounce of this or 1 word of this is talking negative about women. I love my wife, and women have a huge part in our society. They're just different than men. And there's no judgment. There's no value statement there. They're just different from men. As I stated, they have their femininity to offer, which is beautiful, which is the way God wanted it. But they don't have masculinity to give. And other areas that these guys seek validation in is drugs and alcohol, workaholism, being an absent father or an absent husband. And this last piece sort of sums it all up. These men become shells of men. And I was there. In my first marriage, there was a point where, from the outside looking in, you may not have known that there was any issues going on. Guys, I didn't even know for a long time that I wasn't happy. I was somewhat content. I was somewhat miserable at different times. But I was not on fire. I had no passion. I just went to work, and I came home and I watched TV, and that was it. I didn't really have anything really to look forward to, and I didn't have a battle to fight. I didn't have any. It just was just there. Let me take that back. I had a battle to fight. I just didn't know it, and I wasn't fighting it. So that was the struggle I dealt with, and I think a lot of men are dealing with that. And again, it goes back to no one ever told them this is what it takes to measure up. I measure up. and I'm going to take you along the journey with me. And I'm going to tell you, you measure up, and I know you measure up. I know you measure up as authentic masculinity, as an authentic man, because I know what it means to be an authentic man. And I see you, and I see you as an authentic man. So what we end up with is we end up with guys who are lonely, who are isolated, who are living this faux life. They're stuck in this false self, and it's, you could see that with the guys that are showing off, the midlife crisis guys. They're just so fake, and you just know there's something wrong with them. And I've been there too, right? You play these characters that you have your self, your real self in the middle, and you cover it. You think of it like a circle, right? You just cover it with this false self. And that protects, because you feel like the world can't see who your real self is. You have to protect your real self from the world. And you create these faux characters out there. This group of people wants to see me as the happy-go-lucky guy. This group of people wants to see me as the smart guy. This group of people wants to see me as the holy guy. And I've played all those characters. I may be a mixture of all those at different times or whatever, but I am never what all those characters were, and neither are you. If you're playing characters, be yourself all the time. I don't care who you're in front of. You may wear a suit at work, and you may wear shorts on the weekend, but you should be the same guy on the weekend. At the core, you should be the same guy at the weekend as you are during the week at work, right? We see a lot of insecurity. We see a lot of overbearing personalities trying to control things. That was another thing I was just stuck in, and just letting go of that. So great, so liberating. Letting go of that, and then codependency. And again, I've shared my issues with codependency on my wife, and that's just one of those things. Is controlling. I need to control things, and it's just great to let that go. So I've told you, I've sort of diagnosed the patient, right? So doctor, we've got a diagnosis, but what do we do? How do we treat this? And in my notes here and in the article, I write a little bit of this, that there is hope, and I'm living it. Now, it hasn't been that long, so it's like, okay, Rocco, maybe you're on a honeymoon phase here, whatever. If that's the case, then 3 months from now, when I'm right back where I was before, then we'll just take this off the air, and then you could just delete it. But I don't think so, because some things have changed. And my reinitiation, friends, and you could find this reinitiation too. If you feel like you're a shell, if you feel like you're a character, if you feel like you're a tool or whatever it is, you could step. And guys, listen. We're going to be at different levels of this, right? You may be feeling slightly numb to the world, or you may feel like just a piece of garbage. But it doesn't matter, because, again, everybody's at different levels. Everybody's feeling this a little bit differently, and everybody's recovery can come through this at different dose of the medicine. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. Initiation through service, through action, through self-discovery, through fellowship, through courage and passion, and ultimately through the love of God. This is how I'm doing it. And one thing that the service thing, just giving back to others. I'm praying for more opportunities. I don't want to share the stuff I've done. I haven't done enough. I certainly haven't done enough, but I don't want it at all to sound like I'm boasting, because I haven't done enough. I'm selfish. I'm a selfish guy. And the only way that I can not be selfish is to act like I'm not selfish. And maybe God will give me the grace to not be selfish. So service and action. Go out there, go fishing. Go out there, just do it. Just go out and do something. In fellowship. This is, again, I've shared my story at Cornerstone Church, how I've started to build some fellowship with some other guys there, and that's really made a difference in my faith journey and this journey here towards finding my true identity, the masculine identity, and this takes some courage. It took a lot of courage for me to even say what I've said on this episode, but I haven't posted it yet, so maybe I won't have the courage to edit it and to post it. But God give me the strength to do that, right? And the love of God and getting in the Word and praying every day that this continues. This is an exciting journey, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I don't even have my settings right. Let's see how much time we've taken here. We are at 35 minutes right now, so that's not too bad. But I've taken enough of your time here. But I just wanted to share this with you. So just to kind of wrap it up again here. So we have the safe, healthy path, which so many guys are not on, just because of broken marriages and just everything going on in the world right now. Where we have healthy men around us who know what it means to be men, who take us under their wings and they initiate us. These guys have these guys around them a lot and are influenced by them. And then we have the rest of us, right? Which is probably like 90% of us who have had something happen or who didn't have the proper opportunities and the appropriate or needed resources growing up and started seeking it in the wrong places. And some guys at this point got lucky and figured it out. I didn't until later in life. And then they start seeking it in the wrong places and they get it the wrong way and they get trapped in addictions. They get trapped in just boring, mundane, it's just a struggle, and they become shells of men. Again, guys, I've shared it, the hope through just picking yourself up and picking up a shovel or picking up a paintbrush and saying, hey, where can I help? What can I do? Get plugged in with some guys at church. Find some fellowship and get plugged in with God. This, for me, again, if that's not your way, I don't know how to help you. I'm sure there is a way, but maybe I'm not sure. I don't know. It wouldn't work for me. This is the only way. And friends, I could tell you I'm pulling out of this codependency. I love my wife. I think I've given my wife more of my real self, of my passions, by even taking a step back at times. And the feedback I've got from her is pretty darn good. So I feel pretty happy about this. My happiness comes from knowing that my Lord, my God in heaven, loves me. And he wants me to be happy. And all he asks for me is to just glorify him, worship him, and serve others. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to find my little outro here because guys, I still haven't memorized this thing. We're on episode number 20. What am I on? 26? And I still haven't memorized it, but I have it right here. This is why you print things up, and so you don't have to think about this. But before one last thing, or a little bit here before we close out, again, if you could go to roccodeleo.com/iTunes and give me a rating, that would be much appreciated. And thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. So we're going to close it out here. That's it. I always say it. That's it for another fun and exciting episode of And Dad Makes 7. As always, I hope you enjoyed the look into my life, learned something new, and feel inspired and will return next week. If you like what you heard, please share it with a friend. You can also join my email list to ensure you don't miss a thing. You can go to www.roccodeleo.com/sign me up. You can email me at rocco@roccodeleo.com. I'm on the Facebook and the Twitter and the LinkedIn and all that stuff. Just find me out there. And as always, my home online is www.roccodeleo.com, and that's where this will be parked at. You can share it. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you again for listening, and I will be with you next week. Bye-bye for now.